The air in Rome was thick with excitement as Lily walked through the grand entrance of the venue, the cobblestone streets lined with luxury cars, the sound of laughter and music filling the atmosphere. Veronica, her longtime friend, at least she thought so, was celebrating her extravagant birthday in a style that screamed wealth and sophistication. The venue was like something out of a fairy tale, a massive hall decorated with chandeliers, roses, and gold accents. It was exactly what you would expect from someone as high maintenance as Veronica, who always thrived in the spotlight. Lily had been looking forward to this event for weeks, dressed in a breathtakingly expensive gown that swished as she walked. She had been so proud of her friendship with Veronica, the years of shared memories, laughter, and inside jokes. It was supposed to be a night of fun and celebration. The kind of night that made all the hard work, all the struggles, seem worth it. But as soon as she walked in, something felt off. At first, it was a small detail, just the way people were looking at her. It wasn't the welcoming warmth she was used to when she entered a room, but something colder, like a distant formality. She brushed it off. After all, Veronica was known for her dramatic flair, always the center of attention. It wasn't unusual for everyone to act a bit distracted, especially when she was around. Lily made her way toward the main table, eager to find her seat. Her eyes scanned the pristine white tablecloth, the gold-rimmed chairs, the gleaming silverware. There was a spot reserved for every guest except for her. The realization hit her like a punch in the stomach. She stopped in her tracks, her mind racing. This wasn't right. There had to be some mistake. She glanced around, looking for Veronica, who was talking animatedly to a group of guests. Her eyes met Lily's for a split second, just long enough for Lily to see the coldness in her gaze, a flicker of something harsh behind the smile. A slight, almost imperceptible smirk. That was when it clicked. No seat for her. It wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate decision. Lily felt her cheeks burn with a mixture of embarrassment and humiliation. She let out a soft laugh, trying to mask her growing unease. "Oh, must be a mistake," she said aloud to herself, glancing around again, hoping someone would make room for her at the table. But there was nothing. No invitation, no apology, no sign that anyone even noticed her discomfort. The cold realization settled in her chest. Veronica, her so-called friend, had planned this. The seat wasn't just empty by accident. It was a statement. A calculated move to humiliate her, to make her feel less than, to put her in her place. Lily's stomach churned. The hurt was like a sharp stone lodged in her heart. But what really stung wasn't just the cold reception or the public snub, it was the realization that Veronica had been holding a grudge all along, one that Lily had no idea about. The argument they had months ago, the one that Lily thought was long forgotten, had apparently lingered in Veronica's mind, festering into something darker. This was more than just a birthday party. It was a moment of power. Veronica had the control, and she was making sure Lily knew it. She tried to hold it together, but the frustration was building, suffocating her. Every word Veronica spoke to the others felt like a blow, like she was being pushed further out of the circle. How could someone she had once called her best friend do this to her? And why? Her emotions surged, an overwhelming mix of shock, hurt, and frustration. She knew deep down, as the night went on, that something inside her had shifted. The humiliation began to take root, turning into something else, something darker. Revenge. In the back of her mind, she whispered to herself, "You'll regret this, Veronica. You'll regret it all." But it was too late to take it back now. The evening dragged on, and Lily's discomfort only deepened as the minutes ticked by. Veronica continued to act as though everything was perfectly normal, flashing her trademark smile, chatting with her guests, and making sure everyone felt included, except for Lily. The seat she had been expecting to occupy remained conspicuously empty. No one made a fuss about it, and no one approached her to explain. It was as if she were invisible. Lily, trying to swallow the knot of hurt in her stomach, stood off to the side, watching the laughter and clinking glasses of her former friend and her guests. She told herself she was fine, that she didn't need to make a scene, that maybe it was just a misunderstanding. But the whispers, those cut through her more than anything. She overheard fragments of conversations as people passed by, their eyes lingering on her for just a second too long. Some people tried to smile politely, but their expressions were stiff, almost pitying. Was this really how it was going to be? Her heart began to pound in her chest. It felt like every corner of the room was closing in on her. She hadn't felt this alone in a long time. Even the grandiosity of the venue, the opulence surrounding her, couldn't distract from the isolation that seemed to pulse in the air. She watched as Veronica's laughter echoed through the room, the sound of joy that once felt like warmth now felt like a cruel mockery. Every time she caught Veronica's eye, there was no apology, no recognition of the obvious snub. Instead, there was only a coldness that was unmistakable. The deeper Lily stood in the corner, the more she realized that this was no accident. Veronica knew exactly what she was doing. Her absence from the table wasn't just a seating error, it was a deliberate exclusion. She wasn't allowed in, and everyone else, from the other guests to the staff, followed suit. No one asked her to join the table. No one even made an effort to acknowledge her presence. It was as though she had been erased from the event entirely. But as Lily's frustration began to fester, her mind drifted back to the argument, the one from months ago, that she had long ago buried deep in her thoughts, thinking it was over. She had been wrong. It wasn't over. The memory of that fight hit her with full force, like a punch to the gut. It had been such a small thing at the time. A misunderstanding over a trivial comment at one of their many coffee meetups. Lily had teased Veronica about her latest relationship drama, joking that Veronica seemed to always fall for the wrong guy. It had been lighthearted, even playful, but Veronica had snapped. At first, Lily hadn't understood why Veronica was so upset. She thought it was just a harmless dig, something their friendship could easily bounce back from. But Veronica had exploded. Her words had cut through Lily like a razor. You never take anything seriously. You think you can just laugh everything off, don't you? Well, not everything is a joke, Lily. She had stormed out of the cafe, leaving Lily standing there, speechless, confused, and more than a little hurt. But Veronica didn't stop there. The coldness that followed wasn't the kind of quiet treatment Lily was used to. No, Veronica shut her out entirely. Texts were ignored. Calls went unanswered. She was no longer invited to events, to gatherings. Every effort Lily made to mend the rift was met with a wall of silence. Eventually, Lily had assumed that Veronica was just being dramatic, that time would heal the wound, as it always did. Now, standing in the corner of this lavish celebration, Lily understood. Veronica hadn't just gotten over it. No, she had held onto it, nursed that grudge, and this was the moment of payback. Every little slight, every dig, every subtle jab from that conversation had been stored up, a simmering rage waiting for the right moment to explode. And now it had. As Lily's eyes flickered over to Veronica, she saw the woman talking animatedly with a few new guests, laughing and basking in the attention. It was as if nothing had ever happened, as if she hadn't deliberately made Lily feel like an outsider. That cold gaze from earlier had been enough for Lily to understand this wasn't about a seating mix-up. This was personal. And there was no way Veronica was going to let Lily off the hook so easily. The seeds of resentment began to sprout. Lily could feel the fire inside her slowly growing. The humiliation of being ignored, of being treated like a ghost, was now more than just a sting, it was a full-blown wound that demanded something in return. She didn't know it yet, but she knew one thing for sure, Veronica was going to regret this. She would make sure of it. Lily stood in the corner of the room, the weight of the moment settling in like a heavy fog. The noise of the party seemed distant, like a muffled hum. She tried to laugh it off, to pretend that it didn't matter, that she was just being overly sensitive. But she couldn't. The hurt, the anger, the humiliation, it was all too raw, too deep. She tried to focus on the champagne glass in her hand, but the bubbles felt distant, as though they were meant for someone else, not her. Her mind wandered back to the days when she and Veronica had been inseparable. It felt like another lifetime now. They had shared everything, dreams, secrets, and all the messy moments of life. They had been there for each other through thick and thin. Lily remembered the late-night talks over takeout, the spontaneous trips, the support when one of them faced heartbreak or a tough time. Those moments had meant the world to her. Veronica had been more than a friend, she had been a sister, a confidant, someone Lily had trusted completely. The laughter and chatter from the other guests faded away as Lily's mind went back to the good times. They had been through so much together. Veronica had been there when Lily's mother had passed away suddenly, holding her hand through the funeral, offering comfort when the world felt like it was falling apart. And when Veronica's father had been diagnosed with cancer, it had been Lily who showed up every day to take care of her, to run errands, to be there when Veronica couldn't keep it together. They had promised each other that nothing would ever come between them. They had sworn that they were in it for life. But now, standing here, isolated and invisible, Lily realized how foolish she had been to believe in that promise. She had sacrificed so much for Veronica, put her own needs aside time and time again to be there for her friend. And what had she gotten in return? A seat at the table, a seat that had been deliberately withheld, a gesture meant to remind her of just how far Veronica had gone to make her feel small. She could still remember the time when Veronica had confided in her about the problems in her marriage, how she had asked Lily for advice, and how Lily had helped her navigate those dark days. She had helped Veronica get back on her feet when her ex-husband had left her with nothing but debts. But now, it seemed like all those sacrifices had been forgotten. Veronica didn't need her anymore. At least, that's how it felt. As the night wore on, the feelings of resentment swelled within Lily. Every glance from Veronica, every time their eyes met, was another reminder of the chasm between them. Veronica's once warm smile had turned into a cold, almost mocking grin. It was like she enjoyed seeing Lily squirm, enjoyed knowing that she was making her feel worthless. It wasn't just the seating issue. It wasn't just the snub. It was everything. All those years of friendship, of love and trust, had been turned into something ugly, something toxic. Veronica had taken everything from her, the support, the care, the loyalty, and in return, she had gotten nothing. Nothing but this cruel, calculated treatment. Lily could feel the sting of betrayal deep in her chest, sharp and unforgiving. Her throat tightened, and for a moment, she felt like she might choke on the emotion rising up inside her. The hurt was overwhelming, but so was the anger. How dare Veronica treat her this way? How could someone she had trusted, someone she had considered a sister, do this? The very thought of it made Lily's blood boil. She wasn't going to let this slide. Not this time. As the evening continued, Lily's internal conflict only grew more intense. On one hand, she knew she should just let it go, leave the party, walk away from the toxicity, and pretend this never happened. But on the other hand, she knew that if she did that, she would be letting Veronica win. She would be letting her walk all over her once again, just like she had done for months. It was this realization that burned the most. Veronica had been taking her for granted for so long, and now, in this moment, it was clear that things could never go back to the way they were. This wasn't just a petty squabble anymore. It wasn't just about a seat at a table. It was about the entire relationship. It was about respect, trust, and betrayal. Lily's heart raced as the decision started to take shape in her mind. She wasn't going to let Veronica off the hook. She couldn't. The stakes were too high now. This wasn't just about her pride anymore, it was about standing up for everything she had given up for this friendship. And if Veronica wasn't going to see that, then Lily would make her. She didn't know how yet, but she was sure of one thing: she wasn't going to walk away quietly. The tension in her chest tightened, her hands gripping the glass of champagne a little too hard, the ice clinking against the sides. The room seemed to close in on her, and the sound of laughter only made her feel more suffocated. She had been here before, standing on the edge of something, knowing that what came next could change everything. This was no different. Lily took a deep breath and steadied herself. Veronica wasn't going to know what hit her. Lily wasn't the same person she had been when this all started. She had learned, grown, and now, it was time to take back what was rightfully hers. It was time for her revenge. The stakes were higher than ever. There was no turning back now. Lily felt the coldness of the marble walls around her as she stood in the corner, her mind now racing, calculating every move. The hurt was still there, but it was slowly transforming into something far more potent: determination. This wasn't just a simple snub anymore. It was a game. And if Veronica thought she could make Lily feel invisible, she had another thing coming. The noise of the party felt distant, muffled as though it was all happening in another world. Her focus narrowed, and her pulse quickened. It was time to stop feeling helpless and start taking control. Veronica had crossed a line. She had disrespected Lily in front of everyone, and now, Lily was going to make sure that Veronica felt the sting of that decision. She would be the one left scrambling, not her. Lily began to subtly observe the party logistics, the intricate details that Veronica had meticulously planned for this lavish celebration. The event staff was busy, but Lily knew how to blend in. She had been to enough parties to know that the caterers, event planners, and other staff members were always the key to understanding the true workings of an event. With a calm smile, she struck up conversations with them, asking questions about their roles, the timeline, and the logistics of the night. No one suspected a thing. To them, she was just another guest trying to make small talk. As she spoke with the caterers, Lily casually learned about the amount of food ordered for the evening: an extravagant spread, with caviar and lobster, an over-the-top dessert table, and a wide selection of wines. The event planners were preparing for the grand reveal of a cake that was supposed to wow the guests, a showstopper with layers of gold leaf and delicate flowers. The musicians were scheduled for a set, ensuring that the atmosphere remained elegant and lively throughout the night. Everything was perfectly orchestrated, exactly as Veronica had planned. But as Lily listened, she also noted the cracks in the facade, places where her revenge could slip through unnoticed. She smiled to herself. There were so many ways to disrupt this evening. All she needed was to find the right moments and move swiftly. She could already see the chaos unfolding in her mind. Without hesitation, she excused herself from the conversation and stepped outside to make a series of phone calls. First, she dialed the venue. She didn't need to say much. She was calm, collected, and sure of what she was about to do. "I'd like to cancel everything. The event tonight is off," she said, her voice steady, almost too calm. The manager hesitated, clearly shocked, but Lily was firm. She knew exactly how to handle this. Veronica's special day was about to unravel, piece by piece. Next, she called the caterers, her tone polite but firm. "There's no need for the catering service tonight. The event has been cancelled." She hung up before the caterer could protest. The cake, the caviar, the wine, it would all be gone. As for the music, she reached out to the entertainment company with the same cold precision. "Please cancel the performance. The event is no longer happening." With each call, Lily felt the weight lift off her shoulders, the power shifting back into her hands. She was doing this. She was in control. Veronica's carefully curated evening was slowly crumbling, and Lily was the one pulling the strings. She stood there for a moment, letting the silence settle in. It wasn't just about making Veronica suffer, it was about sending a clear message. Lily was no longer the person who would let herself be disrespected. She was done being the background character in Veronica's story. Now, Veronica would know what it felt like to be left in the silence, to have her grand plans destroyed. Lily took a deep breath, composing herself before typing a text to Veronica. She didn't need to say much. Just a simple message, "I hope you enjoyed the silence." "I did." She sent it. There was no going back now. The ball was in Veronica's court. The first sign that Veronica's perfect world was crumbling came with the phone call. Her face had remained composed, a mask of elegance and control as she mingled with the guests, but when the venue manager's voice came over the phone, the cracks began to show. "I'm afraid there's been a mistake, Ms. Veronica," the manager said, voice laced with professional detachment, though it did little to hide the tension. "We've been informed that the event has been cancelled. The catering, the music, everything has been called off." Veronica's face faltered. A rush of disbelief flickered across her features, but she quickly masked it with forced calm. "What do you mean cancelled?" she demanded, her voice trembling slightly despite her best efforts. "I didn't cancel anything. There must be some misunderstanding. The party is still going ahead." "I'm afraid that's not possible. The vendors have all been notified." The manager's tone was final. "The venue is unavailable, and we can't accommodate the event tonight." The words hung in the air, unspoken but loud in their implications. Veronica stood frozen for a moment, the blood draining from her face as she tried to make sense of what was happening. It was all slipping through her fingers. The glamorous night she had painstakingly planned was slipping away, and she had no control over it. She could feel her chest tighten as her heart raced, and for the first time that evening, the laughter and chatter around her sounded distant, as though she was underwater. The chaos spread quickly through the party. Guests murmured in confusion as the realization dawned. No food. No music. No venue. The lights seemed dimmer, the room colder, as if the energy had been sucked out of the air. The caterers were gone, the band was packing up, and the staff, no longer under instructions, stood awkwardly in the background. Veronica's desperation grew palpable as she tried to salvage what was left. She stormed through the room, asking guests to stay, pleading with the staff, but nothing she did could undo the damage. Her perfect event was disintegrating in real time, and she had no idea how to fix it. The people who had once looked at her with admiration now exchanged uneasy glances. Veronica's perfect world, the one she had built so carefully, was collapsing in front of her. It was then that Lily saw her. Veronica, once the picture of grace and control, was now a woman on the brink. Her eyes darted around the room, searching for someone to help, but there was no one. The guests were leaving in droves, their murmurs of discontent growing louder. Lily watched her approach, and for a moment, their eyes locked. The tension between them was thick, the air charged with an electricity that only Veronica's unspoken rage and Lily's quiet satisfaction could create. Lily, Veronica said, her voice trembling with a mixture of fury and panic. What have you done? She reached out, her hand shaking, and Lily could see the veneer of control slipping away completely. This is ridiculous. Why would you do this? Lily didn't flinch. She didn't move. She simply stood there, arms crossed, as Veronica's frantic words fell around her like hollow noise. She'd watched the same woman who had belittled her, humiliated her, now trying to piece together the shattered remnants of her own reputation. It was almost poetic, the universe's way of making things right. I hope you enjoyed the silence, Lily said quietly, her voice calm, almost soothing, in stark contrast to the chaos surrounding them. Her words were simple but sharp, and Veronica froze. She had done it. She had finally crossed a line that no one could ignore. Veronica's face twisted with a mix of confusion and fear. You think this is funny? She spat, eyes wide with rage and disbelief. But Lily remained unmoved. No, Veronica, she replied, her voice low but strong. I think it's deserved. The room was emptying now, the last of the guests leaving in a haze of whispers and discontent. Veronica stood alone, her composure shattered, exposed for everyone to see. The woman who once held all the power in the room was now a mere shell of herself, her empire crumbling in the wake of her own arrogance. And Lily, standing there in the remnants of the party's ruin, felt a quiet satisfaction. This was the moment she had been waiting for, the moment Veronica's carefully constructed facade fell away. It was over. As the last of the guests trickled out of the venue, the once vibrant atmosphere now felt hollow and deflated. The music was gone, the tables cleared, and the staff left in a hurry, eager to escape the chaos that had unfolded. Veronica was left standing amidst the remnants of her ruined event, a shadow of the confident, powerful woman she had been just hours ago. The whispers, the stares, the judgment, she had no idea how to regain her composure. Her social standing had taken a severe blow, and no amount of frantic calls or apologies could undo the mess she had created. Lily stood at the edge of the crowd, her eyes never leaving Veronica as she watched her attempt to salvage the situation, to smooth over the disaster. Veronica's once stunning reputation was now in tatters, and Lily couldn't help but feel a deep sense of satisfaction. Veronica had always thought she was untouchable, but tonight, Lily had delivered a well-deserved wake-up call. Lily, however, didn't need to gloat. She had already done what she came to do. The power dynamic had shifted. What was once a toxic friendship built on manipulation and cruelty was now a distant memory. She didn't need to stay and watch the final collapse. She had other things to do, things that mattered to her, things that involved her peace of mind and well-being, things that Veronica could never take away. With her head held high, Lily made her way to the exit. She could feel the weight of the evening's events lifting off her shoulders, the satisfaction of her victory settling in her chest. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about taking control, about standing up for herself after years of enduring Veronica's treatment. It was about finding her own strength, realizing her worth, and knowing that walking away from this broken friendship was the smartest thing she could have done. As she stepped outside into the cool Roman night, Lily felt lighter. She no longer needed to prove anything to Veronica, to anyone. The power had always been in her hands, she had just needed to find the courage to use it. She paused for a moment, pulling out her phone and typing a final message to Veronica. She didn't expect a response, nor did she care to see one. This was her closing chapter, her final word. Sometimes silence speaks louder than anything else, Lily typed, her fingers steady as she hit send. She looked up at the stars, a small, satisfied smile tugging at the corners of her lips. It was over. Veronica had been exposed for who she truly was, and Lily had reclaimed her dignity, her strength, and her peace. There was no need for further confrontation, no need for more drama. Lily had taken the high road, and, in doing so, had won the battle in the most quiet, powerful way possible. As she walked away, the weight of the evening finally settled into a distant memory. She had learned something valuable. Sometimes, the best revenge is not in the noise of conflict, but in the power of silence and walking away with your head held high.